Happy New Year. Good to have you join us for the Reporters Roundtable. And today we are looking at the impact of labor unrest on Ghana's economy. And undoubtedly, we know that every economy depends largely on the strength and commitments of its labor force. And the public sector has been characterized with strike actions. Pressure is mounting on government to pay 20% cost of living allowance to public sector workers amid the current economic situation. In hindsight, the teacher unions have alleged that government reneged on its commitment and promised to grant them their demands on an agreed date. So on the roundtable today, we're looking at that particular subject of the labor unrest and its impact on our economy, especially around this time where there is economic crisis the world over. You can also join us via WhatsApp or text on 0557446429, 0557446429. Send in your WhatsApp message, send in your text message, and we'll be glad to receive them. Without you, the table is not complete. With me to do this, I have George Ramsey Benemba. He is a chief editor with the Ghana News Agency. And also with him is Clive Ekofo, who is also a chief reporter with the New Times Corporation, publishers of the Ghanaian Times. Good to have you, my friends.
Thank you.
Let's look at the performance of the public sector in its totality. Generally, how have we fared over the time?
The public sector performance. That's a very big topic that needs years to discuss, not just some few minutes. But to summarize it all, the public service has performed its role for the past years, and every sector or every organization under the public service has its core mandate that it has to meet within some given time. And within that time, all you are regulated by rules and regulations that you are supposed to work with. And so in trying to assess their performance, it will all depend on each organization and where what they do and what they've been able to achieve in the past. Talking about organized labor there, you were talking of performance of organized labor. Well, they are doing, organized labor is what we are all part of. We have a core mandate of trying to do what we are expected to do, trying to ensure that the tasks given us in our various organizations are well executed, and try to also make sure that our demands will meet, our demands will commensurate what we produce, our productivity in our organizations. So for me, its assessment is very difficult as we talk now, because I think that to some extent, organized labor has performed, and let's see how it moves on.
Let me bring in Clive to the conversation.
Well,
how has the public sector performed?
How have we fared over the time?
The public sector is the foundation of the country, because it forms the bureaucratic arm of the government. And so the performance of the country is a reflection of the kind of public sector we have. And so if in your thinking, if you think Ghana is performing well, then the credit goes to the public sector. If Ghana is performing abysmally, largely depends on the public sector, because it is very difficult to disaggregate the performance of the public sector from the performance of the country, because invariably all services that enables the country to function largely depends on the public sector. So I can understand why my boss Ramsey is struggling. But if you really want to find out how the public sector has performed over time, just look at it's a reflection of what the country is. So if your health sector is performing well, then those groups within the public sector that are in charge of our health are performing well. And it's a reflection of their performance. If education is doing well, those charged within the public sector to manage our education doing that. If your media is performing well, those charged with that responsibility. So an aggregate of the various blocks within the public sector is what you have as a reflection of where the country is
with what you have mentioned so far, be it in health, be it in education, be it in the media, how do you assess it? Do you see that we're giving of our best?
Well, the question is, how have they performed?
Exactly.
And my point is, if we are all happy with where our country
are you happy? Let me put the question that way. Are you happy
no,
with
I'm
what
not
you
happy.
see? You're not happy?
I'm not happy.
Meaning we are not doing well?
Well, of course. I won't miss worse.
Performance.
If I were to rate Ghana's public sector, 30% will even be overboard. Because invariably, the public sector seems to have paralyzed the society. Like we are more of like a dysfunctional society because of the kind of public sector we have operating here.
But why are you still in there?
Why am I still
in the public sector?
I'm not in the public sector.
Newton's Corporation is not a part of the... Okay.
It's independent.
Yeah.
It's not independent.
Yeah, but we are not.
always
we are not. We don't depend on the consolidated fund. We fund ourselves. So even though we are state-owned, we generate our own income. So the state in which we find ourselves can only be blamed on us and not on any.
So we should carry the blame now.
So,
but it's on our shoulders.
Please, maybe a minute before you asked me a question. Why he's still there? I'm there, so I need to.
Then the question is directed.
Yes. So, as I said earlier on, everybody in an organization has rules and responsibilities, and those rules and responsibilities are backed by finances and other logistics. You might have all the acumen to perform well. You have the ideas to put on the table to ensure that the work there is well executed. But if it is not backed financially and with equipment and logistics, you are bound to fail in a way. In GBC, you do a lot of work. You need a lot of logistics equipment. If you have all the ideas and brains in your head and you don't have the tools that you are supposed to work with, it retrogresses your performance because you have the ideas all right, but what are you working with? So it's like the checks and balances system. You might have the ideas. If it is not financially backed, you have a lot of challenges to surmount in your performance.
Okay. We'll leave that there, but we'll revisit it. As you indicated earlier, it's a whole big subject we can delve into. But particularly today, we're looking at the unrest on the labor front, and let's look at the underlying factors that causes these strikes within the public sector almost every now and then. I
say it's what the French will call déjà vu, because it's a recurring phenomenon, and we seem not to have had a tap on what the actual problem is. It is as a result of this worker agitation that we initiated the salary reform called the
single spine.
No, not the single spine. Before the single spine, we had the price
water
house
salaries.
And I do remember vividly when the final negotiation and everything was done. Workers said they prefer their cocoa sakura to the rice water that has been given to them. So you realize that over the years, government have seen that yes, in terms of emolument of workers, there is a problem. So we have tried various schemes to try and see if we can address them. I remember during former President Kufuor's era, he made a very profound statement about where the employer pretending to pay
and the
employees, and the employees also pretending
to be working.
And so we have the chicken and the egg situation. Which one comes first? Because I say emolument is a function of productivity. So do you ensure productivity to a level so that you can pay commensurate emolument, or you offer good emolument and demand better productivity? And that is something I think we've been toying with. And that is why it's quite intriguing that instead of addressing the fundamentals, if you watch the way inflation is going in the country, if you watch where our indicators are going, I am surprised labor union will only put what they call cost of
living allowance,
COLA, as a panacea to the problems we are facing currently.
Maybe they are too charitable.
Assuming today, if government says, okay, I'm giving the 20%, and then we wake up by December, fuel prices
skyrocket,
have escalated. Do you go back to government to demand for a new cost of living allowance? So we have created a vicious cycle that we seem not to be able to break away from. Unfortunately, government will only look at the revenue it generates and how, or what they call the ability to pay. And labor union is also just looking at what it can take from government, what the actual problem is. Because until we address the fundamental problem, I can tell you, in the next 20 years, we will come back here still talking about workers and their compensation. And so I find it a bit intriguing that it's workers' right to demand COLA, but 20% of somebody who is taking 1,600.
You think it's meager, or we are being too charitable?
No, it's not about being too charitable, because even if you demand for 100%, it will still depend on the ability to pay. If government is unable to pay. But I'm saying I think this presents us an opportunity to sit down and be sober and look at all the variables and decide that this time around we are going to hit it, and we hit it once, and then we wouldn't come back within the shortest possible time. If we are to come back, maybe the next decade, we will not be talking about our emolument, because we got it right. And it's understandable why public sector, because we'll always move in for the COLA. Because if you watch within the public sector space, the disparity in terms of salaries, people of the core skills, because they find themselves at different places within the public sector, you see the disparities in there. And very often TUC or labor unions focus just on those within the public sector, or those on government payroll. I say to myself, what of the labor force that do not belong to do not have government as their employer? So teachers on government payroll who are today complaining do not consider the plight of their colleague teachers who are in the private sector. And when I talk about the private sector, I'm not talking about the so-called international schools, because they have a different scheme altogether. But majority are in the so-called private because we all operate within the same economy. You understand? So we are all beaten by the hardships the economy presents. So for me, I think this time it's not a matter of, because at the end of the day, if government feel frustrated to a level, it may give in. But don't forget, government may give with the right hand and use the left hand to take it back from you. Because all government will have to do is to go back to parliament and introduce a new tax. And once that tax is introduced, what government has given to you with the right hand takes back with the left hand. But I sincerely believe that our dawns in labor issues, our dawns in economy, this is the time. Let's seize this opportunity, sit and judge. Let's look at all the variables. How can we push our productivity forward? And how do we ensure that we bring every Ghanaian worker, whether in the public or in the private sector, to ensure that we have somehow equitable salary for the benefit of all?
But isn't the single spine salary structure taking care of this? If you talk about equity,
no, it was supposed to. It was supposed to take care of the differences, the inequalities that we find in public sector salary structures. But as it stands now, those from the beginning, I think we were told that they were going to look at various qualifications. Salaries were going to be based on qualifications and schedules, so that if you are an editor at GBC, you should take the same salary like editor at Ghanaian Times. And so also based on your qualification. If you are holding this position and maybe you are a first degree holder, he's also a first degree holder, then you should be able to be pegged at the same level, you take the same salary. But as it stands now, even in the same public service, with the same qualification, some are taken far higher than their colleagues in at different organizations. And for me, I think that the single spine has not been able to resolve the salary issues that we have had all over the years. And going back to the factors that you were talking of, we all know what is going on now. Poor salaries. And if you remember the last 2 years, the public sector, because of COVID, has not received any massive increment in salaries. If you remember, last year, 2021, public sector workers were given a paltry 4% increment. This year, it moved from the 4% to 7%. Fuel prices moved from 6.7 cedis per liter at the beginning of the year, that is January, February. As you sit here, it's 12 point something per liter, which means in translation, if you have to buy a gallon of petrol now, you will need about 52 cedis. If you use a diesel car, you will need about 62, 63 cedis to get 1 gallon of petrol. So situations are not the same as they were at the beginning of the year. Situations are not the same as they were a year or two before. And so, cost of living, those who use public sector transport, they will tell you that because of the increases in fuel products, you realize that they have also increased they have adjusted their transport fares. And so, the 10 cedis that you were using on daily basis from your home to work and back can no longer hold, because you now need about 20 cedis too. Meanwhile, your salary has been stagnant for the past 2 years. How do you account for the deficiencies? And that is why a lot of agitations are going around the country now. As we speak, I'm told that today 22 labor unions are in a meeting. When they come out of that meeting, we don't know what is going to happen. So my only recommendation, maybe for government, is that as we sit here, we are all witnesses to what is happening in the whole world. It's not about Ghana alone, but it's about how you solve your problem. If you have issues and you need to solve that issue, and you don't have amicable ways of solving the issues, and you become aggressional, you create more problems. And I'm just thinking that, I'm believing that government will have a very soft spot for the workers, find an amicable solution. If even at the end of the day they are unable to meet them with the 20%, they should meet them halfway. On the other hand, if they think that things are so harsh on government now and they are unable to meet their demand, they should find a way of convincing them. Because workers are also agitated, and workers are agitated, even the labor union, the leaders. Because the fear is that if they go and government does not give what, having to said about our leaders in the past, most of the time when they go and they don't get what they need, we the workers will turn and tell our leaders that they believe government has bribed them. So they are also in a very fixed and tight situation. So as it stands now, the factors are clear. The situation is clear for everybody. But government and labor unions need to sit down, organize themselves, talk to them, especially with the schools. Right now, the schools are all closed. I have a lot of people who have withdrawn their children because they prefer them to be at home than taking them to school. What are they going to do in school? What if they go there and they are playing and hurt each other? Teachers are not even there. So I think that we are in a very hot situation. And the hot situation that we find ourselves demand very solemn and very approachable measures that will allow the situation to sober down, maybe for the future to benefit from
when you listen to government spokespersons and communicators, what do you make of their posture and in addressing this situation? Because already government, with this IMF issues that came out, government, we know government expenditure has run out of gear, and there are a number of factors government is also looking at around this time. What do you perceive of their posture? Are they willing to meet labor unions halfway, or what do you see?
For a very long time, we have been told that government revenue mainly caters for three things. Two key things: emoluments, interest payments, and then very little space is left for developmental projects. Now, so if emolument and interest payment is consuming more than 80% of your revenue space, then it leaves very little room for other things to be done within that 10%. For a very long time, we all know that government expenditure have always overrun its revenue. Because, like I said earlier, a lot of things that we are not doing in this country. Someone will say, why does government continue to borrow? Because government must borrow to fill the space that is created by the shortfall in terms of revenue to be able to do other things. The current budget, when government decided to give 7% or so increment, was within the projected revenue and expenditure chart that was put before us. Unfortunately, like Ramsey said, events have overtaken us. The whole world is in a form of crisis. Economies are suffering. And it's not only Ghana, because you go on to international media, and even countries that we know have got the muscle to withstand some of these things are really under the difficulties. But like I said, the chicken and the egg situation fuel cost is going up, food items are going up, utilities are going up, and yet your salary remains the same. Does government come in to increase salaries? The next question will be, if government decides that, okay, I have the capacity, I have the power to borrow, so I will give the 20%, multiply 20% by over 800,000 public sector workers. Government borrows that. It will come back to haunt all of us, because already you have indicated that for year in, year out, our revenue, if you do the split, largely consumed by emoluments and interest. So if government borrows, then we'll come in to look at interest, because we'll have to pay for that particular interest. It's a very difficult situation, and I do understand. It is more of moral fight than who is right or who is wrong at this level. Why am I saying so? I'm saying so because, yes, we do appreciate the fact that government ministers and appointees have reduced, slashed their salaries by 30%. But this is the time where we need our leaders to demonstrate more sacrifices. If the people see a cut in what we call ostentatious lifestyle of our ruling class, then we at the grassroots lose the moral argument to demand for more, because those who are leading you have actually shown the way by reducing their lifestyle. And when I say the lifestyle, what exactly are we talking about? How can you talk about austerity and still be driving V8s in and around the capital? These are high consuming vehicles. They're high consuming vehicles. So it is not about whether government increases or not, because I believe the increment itself may not necessarily alleviate the plight, because if you look at the projection, the trajectory, the economy is moving. It doesn't look like it is going to abate anytime soon. It's likely next month you are talking about buying a gallon of diesel for 62 Ghana cedis. You may end up buying a gallon of diesel for 80 or 100.
But at least it will cushion workers a bit.
Yeah. You see, it will be eroded, and that is why the issue of sacrifice. So when you listen to the president's address during the Eid, he talks about all of us making sacrifices. But I'm saying, yes, at this level, leadership must do more sacrifice than the others. You understand? Because leadership must drive all of us along. I would prefer waking up tomorrow and a directive asking all ministers and government officials to ground their V8s. In that case, I will have the courage to condemn.
Unless they will fuel it themselves.
Fueling themselves, it should be grounded.
Because if the vehicle is mine and I'll fuel it myself, you have no right to tell me to ground it.
It is not about it's not about rights. You want people to make sacrifices. You must demonstrate. Because yours will be the cause, all other will be the effects.
Right. Yours will be the cause, all others will be the effects. So I'll come to you, Ranvi, but let's go for a quick breather, and we'll talk about whether employees are being inconsiderate in their demand and what this presents, this industrial upheavals presents, and its impact on our economy. You can also join us via phone. You can send a WhatsApp message now or send a text message on 0557 446 429, 0557 446 429, and we'll be glad to receive your message here. We go for a quick breather, please. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back shortly.
Dr. Ted Spear, pastor of the Fundamental Baptist Church International in Kumasi, Ghana. I'd like to welcome you to join us here on GTV every Saturday morning from 6:30 to 7 a.m. Please join us as we discuss the Scriptures each and every Saturday morning. God bless you.
Kings and nations tremble at His voice. All creation rises.
Good morning.
It's a good morning, and we serve you breakfast.
Not just any breakfast.
Sizzling helping.
And there's much more on offer on GTV Breakfast.
So what's your pleasure than Votras here at that time of the morning?
You want it served buffet style, complimentary breakfast,
On-site restaurant,
or room service?
we've got you covered
From Monday to Friday at 6 a.m.
with a trusted team.
So never skip breakfast.
On GTV Breakfast.
Good to have you stay. The roundtable when we're looking at the impact of the labor unrest on Ghana's economy, and we have been discussing so far the assessment or the performance of our labor force here in Ghana. We have been looking at the underlying factors and other issues pertaining to agitations and the demand for the 20% cost of living allowance by public sector workers and the strike actions currently ongoing in the country. I have this message from Isiedu from Drobo. He says, my take is that about 60% of total receipts of the country is distributed among politicians as remuneration. So until a total overhaul of salary structure is done, strikes and demonstrations are going to continue. I also side with Cliff that it has to be leadership by example around this time. Without the example, don't expect us workers to also pay heed to what the president is. Yes, we understand his plea because we know that his expenditure has way run out of his revenue. But we can't compromise any longer because they are not showing leadership by example. Okay, please, Mr. Cliff, have you forgotten the president increased his by 78% while workers are receiving 4% and 7% respectively? You didn't add your name. Please kindly add your name. I hear a total no from the studio, and I'm sure they will explain that. We're having more messages also coming in here from Millicent all the way from Amasaman Hospital. She says, oh, you guys are looking stunning, and thank you for this because we are all suffering. I'm also at a public hospital and it's not easy, my sister. Okay, let me see. I have Lexis, who is also a lawyer. Lexis says, look, Becky, we are coming to the studio right away. Government has to do something. Oh, the government has to do something. That's what you sent, Lexis. Let me have this one too from... I had one message here. Yes, I have Sarah Abwa. Sarah Abwa says, you guys are doing great, and it's good to be talking about this around this time. We really need somebody to talk for employees. Okay, right. So let's look. Is it an issue of bad faith on the side of the employer, or is it that employees are being inconsiderate in their demand?
Employees can never be inconsiderate. I think from the beginning I said something that we have come to the crossroads and we will need some amicable solutions to the issues that are confronting us now. Because I mentioned also that for the past 2 years, salaries have not received any significant increase. Last year 4%, 2022 7%. So that percentage can only be meaningful if you have a very good salary. So I think that because of the current issues that we face, if government decides to do something, they should be doing it on a graduated level. Some years back, during the revolution, there were something like that, graduation of salaries or percentages, where those who take bigger salaries are given smaller percentages. Then those who are at the base there with very paltry salaries are given bigger increases. So you can peg it between 7% and maybe 25%, so that those who are taking hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands, they can be given the 7%. In the middle, they can get like 10%. Further, some can get 15%. Then those at the base will be given the 25%. If we are able to do that, we'll raise, I mean, somebody who is receiving, he said 1,700 or 1,500. Even if we give him 25%, it will be better, but it will be better than putting him at the same level with somebody who is taking 15,000, 20,000. Then you give all of them 10% across board. You realize that it is going to be very unfair to somebody at the base there. But if you give somebody at the base 25%, at least you have some significant increase of his salary, which is still very, very small compared to somebody who is taking 20,000.
I know Cliff does not agree to that.
Yes,
but
it's just a suggestion, right. Because I know that the current situation that we find ourselves and the current salary structures may not give us that impetus to make those increases. But it's a suggestion I am making based on what happened in the past, just to make sure that they mitigate the challenges of the time.
And still keep our economy intact.
Right now, that's why I cannot talk much about it, because we all know what we are going through. And so the workers, I cannot say that they are acting in bad faith. It is the situation. We outline some of the challenges that we are facing. High cost of food, high cost of transportation, high cost of fuel, high cost of
everything is skyrocketing.
Yes,
let me take Nana Kwame from Opasco in somewhere. I wonder what is motivating the public sector workers to be calling strike here and there. Why are they being so insensitive to the government? The government's efforts in resuscitating the economy. I hope their actions are not politically motivated. Greetings to Honorable Alexander Afenyo Marklin. Okay, thank you, Nana Kwame from Opasco. Nana Kwame thinks workers are being insensitive and they should help government put our economy together. Ishahaku Abdul Ganiyu from Tamale said, please, can we stop the hypocrisy? The journalist asking the questions, are you paid well at GBC? I think you're directing it to me. Jaco, okay, I get it. The fact is that President Akufo-Addo is either confused or not in touch with the times we are in. Oh, Jaco, I'm not sure, because he's at the helm of affairs and he knows exactly what is happening within our country around this time. But well, to my question, I think it's a hypothetical one. Right, this one says, hi hosts, you are doing great, and I love the perspective and the analysis from your panel. Those are great questions and great answers coming there. You didn't add your name. Please, madam, kindly let Mr. Cliff understand that we are not going until they hear our cry. This one is coming from Ahin Kobna from Akumadang. Public sector workers said they are not going anywhere until the government hears their cry. I don't know, somebody sent a document. This is under the Council of State versus others. This is a law report giving us a reckless spending. Council of States, ranging it from teachers to nurses, doctors and lecturers, and he's given us Council of State members in 4 years took 1,620 4,626,160. That is equal to $207,154. And all Council of State 31 members in 4 years, 50,410. I think you want to make a point with that. If I am assuming what you want to say, then public sector workers also demand, their demand is in the right direction. Emmanuel from Bechem, please, 20% is not too big for the government. Why can't he pay this once and for all? Emmanuel, thank you. Let me take a final one from here. Then Cliff, I know you're not in agreement with Benin, but please, government have to do something for the teachers, and not just teachers, but all other public sector workers, because the times are hard. You didn't add your name, unfortunately. Cliff, come in quickly so that we look at the impact it has on our economy. So, if government
Ramsey talks about graduation. Of course, somebody will then go to court and sue for discrimination. Yeah. Because how do we call it? Is it equal pay for equal skills?
Work
isn't
value.
It? Yeah.
Equal pay for work of equal value.
Yeah. So, what would be the basis for denying me a certain percentage just because somebody finds him or herself at the bottom where his or her skills places him? The challenge, like I said from the beginning, is the fact that we have not been able to put a tap on what the rare issues are. I have seen people circulate the document about Article 71 holders. In terms of its legality, nobody can hold it against Article 71 holders. And interestingly, from 1993, when we ushered in the 1992 Constitution, every Article 71 holder has been a beneficiary of the emolument arrangement under that particular Constitution. It is more of a moral issue, and it becomes imperative even now that we find ourselves in this situation. And the more people circulate such documents, the more the ordinary worker gets agitated. And in the course of the emotional milieu, we tend to lose what the rare issues are. There are some who argue that people who fall within the Article 71 are deserving of what they get. That is fair. Then workers will also demand what they feel they deserve. Then the issue of productivity comes in. Then the question will be, how much more productive are Article 71 holders than those who fall outside the Article 71? And that's why I said from the beginning that this particular situation, the economic challenge we find ourselves, presents us the opportunity to sit and judge. See, how do we restructure our emolument? That, yes, you can never have a uniform salary structure across. There will be disparities, but would the differences be so much such that a professor at the university, what he takes at the end of the day pales into insignificant if you compared it with someone on the Article 71. Those are the rare issues. I've heard people raise issues about what they do, others do not do. But at the end of the day, people do not care about what you do that others do not do. At the end of the day, you are drawing from the consolidated fund. And what you do that others do not do, others will equally tell you they also do what you also not do. You understand? Okay. So we need to have a conversation around it. I have always wondered why I have never seen TUC or any labor union call for strike when the employer fails to provide the basic tools that we need in order to function effectively. Because if productivity, our emolument depends on productivity, then we ourselves must be interested in what we produce, how productive we are. Because once we produce and we know that we are producing justifiably, then it makes us have the moral courage to confront the employer, tell the employer that when we look into the kitty, our work has contributed so much, and so we are deserving of what we are asking for.
And that you are looking at it as a long-term measure.
It should. Why? But this is the time. This is the time where even labor itself agree that yes, the whole world is in a certain situation. We understand the economy, but at the end of the day, we are feeling the pinch. I buy fuel, and I'm feeling the pinch. You understand? But I will not be too emotional to assume that government like Alibaba can wave a certain magic wand to provide. We need to sit down, talk, so that we don't come back to this. And somebody raised the issue about why people are. It looks as if labor union have become a political pawn, where people believe politicians use them for. It's largely because every government have had one form of this agitation, and we are still not solving the problem. I say let government provide cola, and we'll come back here talking about cola.
Okay, cola again and cola another day. Cola again. Should government buy in? What is the impact on our economy?
The impact is already clear that because should government buy in, the impact of we all know what is going on now, that we have no money. The country is broke, and that is why they are turning to IMF. But that is not to say that the needs of the workers should also not be met. That is why I said from my preliminary statement that it should find a way of meeting organized labor. If even the money is not available now, there should be pledges. That's why we have words like pledges and promises. It should have pledges and promises that will be well documented to tell the workers that for now, maybe we are hard up. We don't have it. When we get it, we will make sure that we'll pay you and pay you in arrears. I think if they are able to give timelines when they will pay and pay arrears, the workers are also human beings. They understand situations. They know what is going on. But that is not to dissuade them from their demands. So I think that compromise and consensus building is very necessary at this particular moment.
Compromise and consensus building is necessary. Let me pick just 3 of our messages because I have a number of them here, and I'm so grateful that you were able to send it. Unfortunately, my time is up, so please bear with me if I read only 3 of this. One says, I love GTV and GBC News for all your programs because they are very educative. Thank you so much. Kindly talk about Ghana police salaries. They are also suffering because nobody is speaking for them. It's always about teachers, nurses, doctors, and public sector, where you just put us all into one basket. Talk about the police. I'm sure you were a police officer. You didn't add your name. I'm sure you were a police officer. And you want. Okay, they are. My question is, what is the efficiency, or what has it been? How productive have the public sector been? And they weren't even able to counsel this government until we got to this point. They are paid, even MPs are paid exorbitantly for nothing. What is happening in Ghana? My time is up and I would have to leave. I'm so grateful that you were able to send. I have So many messages here, so many messages here, and we'll do well to attend to every message even after the program. We assure you of that one. My name is Rebecca Ewa, and we have been I know the conversation will continue on all other programs on our platform, so just keep monitoring. We are also online at the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation Facebook page. Please follow us, like it, share it, and post your comments there. We thank you so much. We'll see you again, God willing, next week.